I looked at him eyes inches away from him, and his nose is like, it's bad. It's ugly.
So that could have been.
He probably
Well,
was,
if I didn't mean to hurt his feelers like that.
No, that was a sensitive spot.
If you ever wanted to see what somebody being thoroughly humbled looks like, you're in luck. Because in this video, I'll break down how Merab Dvalishvili transformed Sean O'Malley's whole personality with one single beatdown, taking him from being perpetually arrogant, sarcastic, and immature to a humble, respectful, and introspective master of Zen.
He's still one of the best, arguably the greatest bantamweight of all time right now. Like, Aljo was that guy. I knocked him out. I go beat Cheeto. Merab beats me. Merab's on a crazy win streak. His resume is insane.
It all began with Sean O'Malley vocalizing his intent to move up a weight class in order to challenge then featherweight champion Ilia Topuria, after he had just beaten Aljamain Sterling for the bantamweight title, which rightfully annoyed the fans, as fighters copying the blueprint that Conor McGregor had set almost a decade prior by trying to speedrun becoming the double champ while avoiding defending their actual title against deserving contenders had become incredibly predictable and stale. And so O'Malley's proposition was met with a wave of backlash calling for a real bantamweight title defense against the #1 contender in Merab Dvalishvili, who at that point was riding a 10-fight win streak with 3 of his most recent victories coming against former champions. And those accolades, combined with the ever-increasing pressure from the fans, as well as the backstory of O'Malley winning the belt by knocking out Merab's close friend and teammate Aljamain Sterling, left him with no other choice but to begrudgingly take the fight.
So Merab's next. Let's do Merab. But I'm telling you guys, if I fight Merab, when I fight Merab, I'm knocking that dude out. Merab will put him to sleep, turning his nose straight. And I'll give credit to Merab. He's doing a really good job building himself up, just being himself, being a goofy, ugly ass. I'm taking Merab out. If Ilia's still champ, I'll take him out too.
This was obviously great news for Merab, as he had been working overtime trying to secure the fight, going as far as taking the promotion in his own hands and creating short skits featuring a Sean O'Malley lookalike, hoping that the fans would take notice and organically engage with the content, as it was an open secret that the UFC despised the idea of him winning the title from O'Malley due to his perceived unmarketability and wouldn't lift a finger to put him in the position to try, an attitude that O'Malley himself seemed to clearly be aware of, as after the fight was finally announced, he began to actively treat Merab's dreams of becoming champion as more of a joke than a real possibility, despite the fact that he was legitimately undefeated for the better part of the past decade and had a very difficult and grappling heavy fighting style.
I told him too, I'm like, buddy, I'm sorry. Like, I feel bad for you. Just like, you can't have this. Maybe I'll go up to 45 and you can do it. And he said, no, you don't have to feel bad for me. So, he's a nice little guy.
The interesting thing about O'Malley's trash talk is that it very rarely revolves around the actual fighting ability of his opponents, with him choosing to go after her looks or other seemingly irrelevant characteristics instead. For example, he loves to purposely mispronounce names without any rhyme or reason as to why, calling Petr Yan Peter and Ilia Topuria Ilia Tilapia, which has gotten him branded as a tryhard by some UFC fans, with their core argument being that regardless of what the UFC brass seems to think, he's not actually charismatic enough to be interesting, so he resorts to childish and obvious jokes because he doesn't have the ability to come up with anything more complicated. And this type of point and laugh humor seems to be shared by his immediate friend group as well, with his head coach and best friend Tim Welch doing a lot of the proverbial heavy lifting during the build-up to the Merab fight.
Merab has I think it looks probably close to an 8-inch nose. And so Sean's very accurate, so we'll plan on punching that nose completely sideways for 5 rounds.
It seemed like the whole O'Malley camp didn't respect Merab on the human level, giving off the impression that he was so below them in status that everything he did and said was only to be laughed at, until he was no longer an opponent or even a person, but simply a meme, a caricature that was more of a cartoon character than a real fighter challenging for O'Malley's belt.
He has split custody with a cat with his ex-stripper girlfriend. Picks up the cat 10 minutes before I pulled up on her.
Is this real?
Yes.
That's fire.
But that's not dirt.
He acts real tough to have a split custody with cat.
It makes sense why all those stripper girls are in his videos. But I'm surprised that they fucked him, because I'm like, those girls are, but.
And if I had to guess, I'd say that this attitude was at least partially the result of them knowing that the UFC also viewed Merab as somebody that wasn't good enough to represent the bantamweight division. Not because he lacked fighting skills, but because he simply didn't look and sound right, which made them see him as a lesser being that wasn't capable of providing them with what they needed, money, which in turn made Team O'Malley very comfortable in viewing Merab as a joke in every facet of his life and acting accordingly, resulting in several instances where Sean's fans picked up where he left off and heckled Merab in person, leading to physical confrontations which only amused O'Malley further.
Quit making fun of Merab. He's very insecure. His nose is f***ed up. He doesn't need you guys telling him
that I'm his dad. So would you guys please quit making fun of Merab? His self-esteem is not very high right now. Lay off it a little bit.
And for a while there, it really seemed like Merab was off his game and going into the fight destined to lose to the company man. Everything was set up to make this a coming out party for Sean, the promos, the beautiful setting of the Las Vegas Sphere, with Dana White saying over and over again that the mini movie playing inside of it in between fights was a love letter to Mexico, and clearly hoping in secret that the signature on that letter would come in the form of O'Malley knocking Merab out cold in the main event. But regardless of what everyone seemed to want, the objective reality was that Merab was simply the superior fighter. So when it came time to fight, he assaulted O'Malley round after round with relentless grappling heavy pressure, securing a unanimous decision victory with relative ease, and humbling Sean so thoroughly that he would go on a full-blown character arc in the following 6 months, eventually transforming into a modest contender with a newfound respect for Merab's skills.
Merab, is he on a 12-fight win streak?
I feel like he's been on a 12-fight win streak for a while. He's got to be at like 13 now.
12-fight win streak, beat all these former champions. The dude is the best bantamweight ever.
I think so.
Hands down, easily. If you look at his resume, he's a serious problem.
Merab's not someone you could have a half-ass training camp with. I was very disciplined. I was dialed. I was not slacking anywhere that camp. That camp was good for what I was able to do. I wasn't able to grapple. I wasn't able to wrestle. So that threw me off, but I was still dialed, still focused, still ate, still, did everything right. And you just can't do that with Merab. You have to be healthy. You got to go in there with and
The loss to Merab was undoubtedly a very traumatic event in Sean's life, taking him from feeling like he's on top of the world and fully in control of his own destiny to losing multiple future opportunities along with his core identity overnight, something that would leave even the strongest men in serious distress. And the Kubler-Ross model for grief dictates that there are 5 stages in total, with the final one being acceptance, which is where Sean O'Malley eventually ended up, with the help of a psychedelic mushroom trip on New Year's Eve that allowed him to finally break through the ass whooping that Merab gave his ego.
took some mushrooms. I have a bunch of trees on my property. Went and sat outside. Went and like hugged a tree. Sat there barefoot in the ground.
The experience not only humbled Sean, but was the catalyst to him reorganizing his life from scratch, giving up things like smoking, masturbating, gaming, and
Not being on social media. I decided 2025. I'm done with social media. Garrett and Sono are just running all my socials. I don't get on social media, and I feel like that's gonna play a role in my performance. I think all those little things like that, making decisions like that, sacrifices, if you will. I don't think it's a sacrifice, but in a sense, it's like giving up something. I feel like that is going to help with performing in the future.
that remains to be seen, of course, but even getting to the final stage of grief is a victory in and of itself, as Sean was firmly in the first stage of denial just a couple of months prior.
And I didn't even want to rewatch the fight because everyone was saying, "Oh, you got smoked. You look like shit." I was like, God, I don't even want to watch the fight. And I know I would learn a lot from it. I still need to rewatch it a few times, but I rewatched the fight, and my bias, now we'll say my unbiased, humble opinion, I mean, the judges gave me around 3 and 5. That means he won 2 and 4, which I'm not arguing. He for sure won round 2 and 4. I don't understand how you give me round 3, but not round 1. I thought round 1 was more of my round than round 3 even. I thought I won round 1, 3, and 5, let alone didn't get my ass kicked. I had him running around, holding his guts in the 5th round. The cardio machine, I won the 3rd and the 5th round. So 2 out of the last 3 rounds I won. It sucks that this guy's the champ. He's just so ugly. I'm like, how? How is this guy the champ? That's what drives me crazy.
Notice that he's bothered by Merab's appearance here, feeling like he doesn't have the right look to represent the title, a callback to what I said earlier in the video, and also an attitude that was expressed by Leon Edwards towards Bilal Muhammad, undoubtedly just a reflection of how the UFC feels behind closed doors.
It doesn't look right on him, the belt, you know what I mean? It just look like,
Luckily, Merab putting belt to ass the way his parents never did, and hippie drugs proved to be the right combination for an antidote against this toxic attitude fostering within Sean, and turned him into a better human being that realized that he never really even disliked Merab, but was just kind of being a dick for no reason.
This camp, it's like, I have nothing against Merab. I'm going to go out there and compete because I love to compete. I'm an athlete. I'm a high-level performer. I want to go out there and put on a beautiful performance because I love this sport, not necessarily because I don't like Merab.
To be honest, with this newfound attitude and how focused Sean's been looking in general, I'm a lot more excited for his rematch now than I was when it was first announced. The seriousness of his preparation makes it a lot more intriguing and thereby marketable than it has any business of being. And I'm starting to think that O'Malley might be able to pull it off, which shows that when you focus on what matters, some fights have a tendency of promoting themselves. But that's that's just my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like the video if you liked it, and if you want to see more videos like this, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell next to it. And if you want to support this channel further, become a member by hitting join if you're on Android or desktop, or the link in the description if you're on iOS.
I randomly got this owl tattoo on my chest. I had a tattoo right here and I didn't like it. I told the tattoo, I'm like, cover it up. He's like, what do you want? It's like, I don't know what would be there. He's like some kind of bird. I'm like, he's like, you can tell me. He put an owl here. But owls have been coming in and out of my life in a weird way, And 10 days before the Merab fight, there was a dead owl in my driveway. What? And I was like, that can't be good.